When you boil it down, the work we do as professionals is behavior change. Any learning, communications, change management, any HR, any tech project is about supporting new behaviors. In that last reflection you just did, you've uncovered a bunch of behaviors that your team is trying to reinforce. The question now, how can we translate what's true about habits and brushing our teeth into the workplace? Let's start first with how a habit is formed. Habit formation can be broken down into three components we often think of in a loop. There's first a trigger or a cue, there's an action or a behavior that we take, and there's a reward or a reinforcement. When you start to take that mindset and you understand the mechanics of that habit loop, you can begin to create or influence each one of those elements. So you might be looking for some inspiration on how that could look. Here's a couple quick examples. For a large healthcare insurance agency, they wanted to drive new behaviors related to customer service and how they talk to their customers and patients. With that habit loop in mind, we designed a website and a set of activities that created an experience to literally build new habits in that loop. The website would cue people at key moments. It would ask them to take a new behavior, to try something new out, like, for instance, being mindful of the language they use with a patient. And then it used gamification to reinforce that habit over time. Another example, if that's a little too on the nose for you, we're just creating the habit loop, maybe that's a little too obvious, there's other ways we can influence too. With a direct home sales company, we knew there would naturally be a cue in the everyday environment. And we worked to remove all the barriers around that behavior that we wanted to reinforce. In those sales roles, often a key barrier is getting to that first party. Whether you're on Avon or Mary Kay or Pure Romance, that's a daunting task. There's all the inventory, the invites, the pressure of hosting. So we knew that cue would come up naturally in someone's career journey. So we created everything around the cue. We created guides. We shipped a box of materials. We provided a ton of fun resources. We gave people everything they needed so that when that cue hit, they could take action. And we made it fun. We said, pop open that box, take a look at what's inside, and try it out. We lowered the barrier, and so we reinforced a new behavior and a new habit for that specific cue we knew would come up. Now, when you start to think about your work, you've got a lot of questions. You're not going to get it perfect today, but remember that progress over perfection principle that we shared at the start. Do the work of trying to think about how you might do the same, how you might design an experience that uses what we know about habits to try to drive new behavior. In those projects or initiatives you're working on, what's one of the core behaviors that you're trying to reinforce? Go backwards. What trigger or cue could serve as a reminder for that behavior? And how could you control the reward or the reinforcement of a job well done? To try to make this reflection easy, your participant workspace has an included Tiny Habits card from BJ Fogg himself. The language is a little different. Instead of cue, behavior, reward, he might say anchor, behavior, celebration, but it's really all the same. You're going to use his card to write down those three components for a behavior you want to change in your work and in your projects. Work with your team to try it out and be ready to discuss.